Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're diving headfirst into a phenomenon that has, well, absolutely dominated online conversations. It's a viral video, or maybe a type of video, about pain, suffering, and the path to self-knowledge, often featuring the iconic figure of Carl Jung. It's racked up millions upon millions of views. I mean, I bet many of you listening have probably seen it, or at least something very much like it. Now, here's the core mystery we really want to unravel today. Why? Why did this seemingly heavy, introspective content resonate so deeply with so many people? What is it about this specific message that compels us to watch it and share it and then often watch it all over again?
That's a huge question, isn't it? And it really sets up our mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore the psychology behind this video's, frankly, immense popularity. We'll try to connect its message to deeper truths about, well, human experience and personal growth, drawing on some broader philosophical and psychological ideas too. Ultimately, we want to help you understand not just what this video is saying, but why its message is striking such a powerful chord in our modern world.
Exactly. So get ready for a journey. We think it promises some surprising insights, powerful connections, and hopefully a clearer understanding of why this message, this idea about finding strength through vulnerability, is just so relevant to all of us right now. Let's dive in.
Right, let's start by sort of examining the anatomy of this viral video or this type of text. What was it about its structure, its immediate punch, that let it cut through all the noise online and become such a huge thing? Well, I think what's really effective is how strategically it's put together to grab you immediately. The first key factor is its direct hit on a universal human experience: pain. Simple as that. It doesn't start with abstract theory. It opens with questions we've all asked ourselves, probably in our quietest moments. Questions like, have you ever wanted to be invulnerable? Or, are you tired of pretending to be strong all the time? That creates an immediate, almost visceral connection. It makes you feel seen, understood, like it's talking directly to you.
Yeah, it's like it's reading your mind, which is incredibly powerful. And then it builds on that by presenting what we could maybe call the forbidden truth effect.
Yeah.
The author, or the voice, claims to say what others don't dare to say. That instantly creates intrigue, right? Positions it as hidden knowledge. And then comes the central thesis, which is honestly a bit shocking at first. Our pain isn't primarily coming from the outside world. Instead, it argues our suffering originates from within us. It's not necessarily others hurting us directly, but their actions are kind of activating our own old, unhealed internal stuff. Traumas, maybe.
Yeah.
It really flips the script on where suffering comes from.
Exactly. And for a truth that's challenging to land, the message needs some serious credibility. Which brings us to the next piece: the powerful role of authority. Just dropping Carl Jung's name, one of the founders of depth psychology, lends this huge weight, this gravitas to the whole message. So when it quotes Jung saying, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate," well, that hits differently.
Yeah, that does.
That quote just perfectly nails the video's core idea, that our hidden internal world powerfully shapes our external reality. It's not just some random opinion. It's presented as a deep psychological principle from a master.
And it's not just diagnosing the problem either. That's key. Beyond saying here's where the pain comes from, the video offers this really compelling promise: transformation, freedom. It suggests there's a path to healing, but it's not about building thicker walls or just slapping on a brave face. Instead, it promises true freedom, freedom from being an emotional puppet, basically. And this freedom comes from consciously integrating what Jung called your shadow. Could you maybe unpack that shadow concept a bit for listeners? What does that really mean here?
Sure. The shadow, in Jungian terms, it's essentially all the parts of ourselves, our unconscious aspects that we tend to deny or push away. These can be things we see as negative, like our fears, our insecurities, our weaknesses. But importantly, the shadow can also hold unacknowledged strengths or untapped potential, things we're afraid to own. So the video's really powerful message is that real freedom and strength don't come from hiding these parts. They come from consciously bringing them into the light, integrating them into our whole self. It's about accepting all of who you are, not just the good parts.
That makes so much sense. And it manages to make these potentially complex ideas feel really accessible, which brings us to another reason it probably went viral: the language. It uses clear language, powerful metaphors, no dense jargon. Like the unconscious, this huge reservoir of stuff outside our awareness. It's not just some vague cloud of thought. No, it's framed as an active force, something quietly but powerfully steering the ship,
Yeah.
And depression. It's not just an illness to battle, it's personified. A lady in black you maybe need to sit with, listen to, instead of just trying to chase her away. These images really stick. I think so many of us are taught to fight those feelings, right? Not invite them in for tea. Is that part of why it hits home? It offers a totally different playbook.
Absolutely. It's a counter-narrative. It goes against that common reflex to suppress or run away from uncomfortable emotions. So pulling these threads together, the video's huge popularity, I think it really shows how these deep, complex psychological topics can break through into the mainstream. It happens when they're presented in a way that speaks directly to that deep-seated pain we all feel sometimes. And crucially, when they offer a path towards authentic internal change, something that goes way beyond just, superficial positive thinking stuff, it feels like it's tapping into a real hunger for something more substantial.
It's truly fascinating how a message like this managed to cut through everything else online. And it's important, like you said, to recognize that while this feels very current, very modern, the ideas themselves aren't brand new. They're built on a foundation. You mentioned Jung's name, obviously. Tell us a bit more about his own personal journey to these kinds of insights.
Yeah, connecting it back to Jung himself is really interesting. He actually came to many of these core concepts through a major personal crisis. It was after his break with Freud, a really difficult, intense period he called his confrontation with the unconscious.
Wow.
He documented this whole inner journey in his famous Red Book. It's literally like a map of his deep dive into his own psyche, filled with these vivid visions and dialogues with inner figures. So Jung didn't just theorize this stuff, he really walked that path himself, integrating his own shadow, facing his own suffering to find a sense of wholeness.
So his own profound personal experience was the bedrock for these theories. That's powerful. And it's exactly these core Jungian ideas, isn't it, that have been picked up, developed, maybe popularized by so many contemporary figures. They're bringing these insights to even more people today.
Precisely. You can see the echoes everywhere. Think about Brené Brown, for instance, and her huge impact with the power of vulnerability. Her central idea that real strength is found in the courage to be vulnerable, not in building up emotional armor. That directly mirrors the video's point about embracing our inner experiences, not pushing them away.
Right.
She shows how trying to suppress shame and fear actually makes us weaker, less connected, which just reinforces this need to understand what's going on inside.
And then there's someone like Gabor Mate, the physician. His work is incredible, showing the links between suppressed emotions and actual physical illness. He had that really striking phrase, when you don't know how to say no, your body eventually says it for you.
Such a powerful line.
It connects so directly to that idea in the video that ignored pain doesn't disappear, it just digs tunnels inside you. Mate's work really highlights how unexpressed trauma, unacknowledged pain, can literally show up in our bodies, can break us down physically.
Which then raises the question, okay, how do we actually deal with these internal forces? How do we confront them? Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist, offers one perspective here. He talks a lot about meeting your shadow, or as he sometimes frames it, confronting the dragon of chaos. Peterson argues for voluntarily facing the things we fear, the things we dislike or repress in ourselves. By integrating that uncomfortable energy, that power, he suggests we become more complete, more whole individuals. And this is really a direct continuation of Jung's concept of individuation, that lifelong journey of bringing together our conscious and unconscious parts, including the shadow, to become who we're truly meant to be.
And finally, you really can't talk about awareness and suffering without bringing in Eckhart Tolle. His book, The Power of Now, was huge.
Absolutely.
Tolle's core idea that our suffering often comes from identifying too much with our ego, with that constant stream of thoughts in our head, that aligns perfectly with the viral video's message, too.
It really does.
His call for awakening, for present moment awareness, encourages us to just observe our thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. Which sounds exactly like that final message in the video about awareness as a shield. Okay, this is all fascinating theory, but let's try to bring these powerful concepts down to earth a bit. Let's look at some real-world examples, stories that show how these ideas actually play out, how they have real practical application for you listening. So first up, let me tell you about the man who feared rejection. This is an entrepreneur named Jia Jing. He was terrified of rejection, so he decided to tackle it head-on with this wild experiment he called 100 Days of Rejection. And the idea was, every day for 100 days, he'd make some kind of outrageous request of a stranger, fully expecting to be told no, and he filmed it all. Think asking a stranger for $100 or asking to play soccer in somebody's backyard. My favorite, personally, was when he asked a Krispy Kreme donut shop to make him donuts shaped like the Olympic rings.
And what's so fascinating is what happened next, right? First, Xi Jinping found out that Surprisingly often, people actually said yes. That Olympic ring donut video went viral itself.
Yeah.
But the real breakthrough for him, and this illustrates our whole conversation today perfectly, was his realization about the pain. He realized the rejection itself wasn't the source of the pain. The pain came from the story he immediately told himself about the rejection. I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, people don't like me. By changing that internal narrative, by separating his self-worth from whether someone said yes or no, he became, well, resilient, invulnerable, you might say. His pain wasn't really in the external event, it was in his own internal wound that the rejection just poked.
Such a clear demonstration of that internal shift. Okay, story number 2. Let's switch gears and talk about Abraham Lincoln's shadow. We all know Lincoln, right? Revered president, figure of incredible strength, guided the U.S. through the Civil War. But what a lot of people maybe don't know is that Lincoln suffered from severe, often crippling depression throughout his entire life. They called it melancholia back then. He faced just unimaginable personal losses. His mother died when he was young, his sister, 2 of his own sons died. Friends apparently worried he might take his own life at times. It was that bad.
And the profound lesson we can take from Lincoln's story is this. He didn't somehow conquer or suppress his pain to become strong. He integrated it.
Integrated it. How so?
Well, he didn't become strong by pretending he wasn't hurting or by becoming numb. Instead, his own deep suffering seems to have become a source of profound empathy, wisdom, and resilience. It allowed him to connect with the suffering of others, to lead a fractured nation through its absolute darkest hour. He became whole, not by rejecting his shadow, his pain, his grief, his melancholia, but by accepting it as part of him. That acceptance gave him access to a deeper strength.
That is truly inspiring, and it brings us back to really profound, maybe even a little confronting insight from the viral video aimed right at you, the listener. What you don't understand and don't control controls you.
Oof. Yeah, that statement really leads to an important question for some self-reflection, doesn't it? Think about your own life. Are there recurring patterns, things that seem to happen over and over? Maybe why do you find yourself repeatedly drawn to partners who aren't really right for you? Or why do you seem to get into similar kinds of difficult situations at work?
Or why do you maybe sabotage things when success feels like it's just within reach?
Exactly. According to Jung, and echoed in this video, these aren't usually just random fate or bad luck. They're often your unconscious mind trying to get your attention, trying to signal an old, ignored trauma or wound that's asking to be acknowledged, to be healed. It's your inner world waving a flag, trying to guide you towards what needs to be made conscious so it stops controlling you from the shadows.
So as we start to wrap up our deep dive today, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway from all this?
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear that the incredible popularity of this viral video, this whole message, is really a profound reflection of something happening in the modern spirit. Maybe we are, quite frankly, getting tired. Tired of the constant pressure of the success culture. Tired of that relentless toxic positivity that demands we always be strong, always be invincible, always be happy.
I think that's exactly right. There's this intuitive sense, maybe growing stronger, that the real path to strength, the kind that actually lasts, isn't found in denying pain or trying to escape it. It lies in the courage, the profound courage to actually face it directly, to walk through it, understand its message. That's where authentic power seems to reside.
And it's crucial we reiterate this. The path described here, Jung's individuation, facing the shadow, it is not a quick fix, not at all. It is definitely not some simple 5-step plan you can knock out in a weekend to achieve instant happiness.
No.
It's presented as a deep, often difficult, sometimes painful inward journey. It demands vulnerability, real self-honesty, and frankly, persistent effort over time.
But the ultimate promise, coming from the source material, from Jung, from these modern echoes, is immense. This path, this journey makes us not just superficially strong, but truly whole. And the idea is when you are truly whole, when your inner world is more integrated, more understood. Well, the external world, with all its inevitable storms and challenges, it might still try to knock you down. But it will no longer find those old, unhealed wounds, those easy places inside you, to strike and take root.
It's a really powerful thought to leave you with, a powerful image. So maybe the question for you to ponder, based on everything we've talked about today, is this. What is one recurring pattern, just one, in your own life that you might consider exploring a little more deeply? Just wondering, what might your unconscious be trying to communicate to you? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the viral phenomenon of pain, Jung, and the journey to self-knowledge.